Mike Branos here for the Coachspeak Index. What up? What's going on? Week 12, baby. We're here. Getting close to the end of the fantasy season. Gonna throw out a couple recommendations to you here off the top. A couple things I've really enjoyed lately. One of them, no surprise, it's a Tim Robinson project. Been a big Tim Robinson fan for a long, OG Tim Robinson fan, I would say. Back when he was on SNL and barely getting any usage on that show. He was like the Travion Henderson of Saturday Night Live. And I could tell just from like the one sketch he was in every other week that this guy really has something. Like, this guy, I think one day will be a star. And he's kind of turned into that. Not quite mainstream yet. I don't think, I think you should leave kind of like a cult hit, especially to start out with that first season, which if you have not watched that show, watch that show. I'd imagine there's like a percentage of people who are just not into his type of humor. Understandable, fine. It does seem kind of niche, but it has such broad appeal at the same time, I believe. And this new show that he has on HBO, which I believe he co-wrote, called The Chair Company, is so unbelievably funny. It's the best show on TV right now. I believe the final episode is going to air this Sunday, the season finale. Cannot recommend this show enough. So delightful, so funny, and he's such a talent, man. He is A-list. He is A-list comedic talent. He's gonna have a very long career in Hollywood for as long as he wants. He's gonna be one of the greats. All right, book it, mark it down, put it in Sharpie. Tim Robinson, Detroit Lions fan, Tim Robinson, one of the greats. The other recommendation, Nouvelle Vague. It's a new film out in theaters by Richard Linklater. Saw it this past Saturday. And this one, definitely not for everybody. I'll just say, if you enjoy French new wave films like Breathless, The 400 Blows, then you need to go see this movie. It's fantastic. And not really any known names in the cast, but it's tremendous. And the screening I went to was actually a Q&A, and come to find out, the guy who plays Jean-Luc Godard in the film, it's his first feature film. It's a French actor. I was shocked. I was shocked when I heard it was his first film, because he's so outstanding in this film. But yeah, if you're into French New Wave cinema, go watch Nouvelle Vague in theaters this weekend. Good stuff. And if you're not playing on Underdog Fantasy, why don't you go ahead and rectify that situation today? Huh? Got a little QR code here in the bottom left-hand corner. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash plus a free pick'em. I mean, this is the last week, by the way, for Dog Bowl drafts. I thought we had 2 weeks left. My buddy Mathology let me know when I stream with them this week that no, this is the final week to qualify for the Dog Bowl in Kansas City, the finals, where you get 200 plus racks for first place. I've been drafting as much as I can, as much as time allows for the season. Some weeks it's like 7 drafts. Some weeks it's 10 drafts. They take 10, 15 minutes. And I'm really trying to jam them in as much as possible this week. Trying to get 30, 40, maybe 50 drafts in. But really fun slate to draft. And came pretty close last week. 8th place. I was like a 30-yard Ladd McConkey touchdown would have resulted in $10,000 plus a trip to Kansas City for the finals. But we'll give it one more shot this week and jump in these drafts with me. Let's draft a winner. All right, let's talk about some Coachspeak. Some stuff that I've pulled from the Coachspeak Index Discord. Link there in the top right-hand corner of your screen. In the description for the audio listeners. But let's start off with some running backs. All these quotes can be found in the Discord. We'll start out with the Detroit Lions. If you were online at all yesterday, you probably saw tweets or headlines that read, Dan Campbell says he wants to give more carries to David Montgomery. Everyone got raptured up into a big tizzy over this. What those tweets and headlines did not include was the full context surrounding both the question that was asked and the actual quote. So a reporter asked Dan Campbell yesterday, how do you feel about the usage of David Montgomery since you took over play calling duties? And do you feel like you went away from Montgomery in some situations where he could have been used in the Eagles game? And Campbell said, quote, I'd always like to get David more carries. Always. End quote. That's a pretty benign quote. And that was the entire response, by the way. All those aggregated headlines online framed it like Dan Campbell was saying something proactive, like, hey, we have to change things up and start giving DeMont more carries. That wasn't the case. Campbell was merely stating the same feelings that he's had about David Montgomery throughout the season. It's not like Montgomery hasn't been getting work. He's averaging 13 opportunities per game in 2025. But nice matchup this week as double-digit home favorites versus the New York Giants. I just don't think that quote really moves the needle at all. The situation is the same as it was before that question was asked. We're not learning anything new there. Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen said on Monday, I thought Bhayshul Tuten ran hard. He ran downhill. A couple third down runs got us vertical. He did a really nice job. Obviously, so did Travis Etienne and LaQuint Allen. Quote, but Toot has been practicing better and better. And as much as we can continue to get him involved, the better our offense is, end quote. Great nickname there, by the way, Toot, just Toot. All right, first of all, the comment about Bhayshul Tuten practicing better and better might seem like a small thing, but I think it's actually pretty big, especially for this coaching staff. Something that I've noticed from Liam Cohen's pressers and also Ben Johnson's pressers, which we'll get over to here in a little bit. We'll talk about some Ben Johnson stuff. But something that's really stood out is how directly linked a player's week of practice is to their playing time. We've already seen it with Parker Washington this year. Just go to the Jacksonville Jaguars thread in the CSI Discord. Look at how Liam Cohen and offensive coordinator Grant Udinski were talking about Parker Washington's practices and how that basically forced them to put Washington on the field more. And now you have Travis Etienne wearing a non-contact jersey in Thursday's practice because of his shoulder. We saw this movie last year with Liam Cohen, where he runs this very intricate offense and run game. It takes a while for a rookie running back to come in and learn it and get fully comfortable in it. And then the runway is cleared for takeoff. Back in the offseason, Liam Cohen talked about how Bhayshul Tuten was working on the 5 footwork tracks, and there's a long way to go and trying to get that down, among other things. And now you're starting to see a ramp up in how the Jags talk about Tuten more glowingly in their press conferences. And then we're also starting to see a ramp up in usage on game day. I don't think Tuten dominates this backfield the same way that Bucky Irving did in the Bucs backfield under Cohen near the end of last season. But I do think we see this probably tilt into a 60-40 share in favor of Bhayshul Tuten. He has a skill set that the Jags really value. Liam Cohen has talked about Tuten's ability to force missed tackles, which we know is a big thing for Cohen. And then we've seen Bhayshul Tuten do it on game day. They also love the fact that Bhayshul Tuten very rarely loses yardage. Grant Udinski spoke on that about a week or so ago, how they like using Tuten in short yardage in goal line situations because he's strong. He has great contact balance. He has the ability to accelerate when he takes the handoff. That last one, by the way, another crucial characteristic that Liam Cohen looks for in his running backs: fast to and through the hole. If you are in a dynasty league, you should already have Bhayshul Tuten. But if you don't, make an offer for him before he has a huge game and it's too late. All right, Jags general manager James Gladstone specifically targeted Bhayshul Tuten as a player he wanted before he even landed the job. He told them in his interview, Bhayshul Tuten is a guy that I want. He perfectly fits the mold of a running back that Liam Cohen wants in his offense. We've seen how explosive Cohen offenses can be. I can't wait to see what this looks like in year 2 and 3 for Bhayshul Tuten. All right, one more running back here. Seattle Seahawks. Big quote from head coach Mike McDonald on Kenneth Walker on Monday. Quote, "I think Ken's showing that he's earning more opportunities to get the ball. All 3 of our backs are doing a great job, and I think you really felt Ken yesterday. Even in the pass game, too, like on checkdowns and finding him late in the play. Just shows you that he's such an explosive player with the ball in his hands. And he knows there's things he needs to clean up in his game, too. And he's done a great job in practice doing that and will continue to do that. I think Ken's showing that he deserves some more opportunities," end quote. And then on Wednesday, McDonald said that Kenneth Walker deserving more opportunities is being driven by his in-game production. Listen, anyone with eyes and a brain can see that Kenneth Walker is the best running back in Seattle. And the Seahawks know that too, because when the game is on the line, Kenneth Walker is the running back that's in there for them. McDonald had made some comments early in the season about the workload split, how they're just trying to make sure that the guys make it all the way through the season. And we are now getting toward the end of the regular season. Walker's usage is increasing. He is in turn rewarding the coaching staff and their decision with his production. Clint Kubiak's outside zone run scheme is tailor-made for Kenneth Walker. Zach Charbonnet, he's fine enough at runs between the tackles, which Walker also quite good at, by the way. But, man, watching Zach Charbonnet try to run outside zone it's painful, all right? There's no other way to say it. It's painful. It's like a free down for the defense. You would be better off just running tush push with A.J. Barner on 1st and 10. So I think we will continue to see increased opportunities for Kenneth Walker, which makes him very, very playable in fantasy. I do think that in games where the Seahawks jump out to a big early lead, that the backfield in those contests, ends up being a little bit more split. That could certainly be the case this week as 13-point favorites against the Tennessee Titans. But Kenneth Walker is in a very good spot now after some roller coaster usage early in the season. Let's touch on a couple wide receivers here. First, the Buffalo Bills, just out of nowhere. Tyrell Shavers, 4 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown on 5 targets last week. On Monday, head coach Sean McDermott said, when Tyrell Shavers performs in the passing game like he did, it builds trust. When you know where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there in a scramble situation, he knows how to operate where Josh Allen can find him. That's the level of detail we all have to have, so he's a great example for us. And then offensive coordinator Joe Brady spoke about Shavers on Monday as well. Said Tyrell Shavers does a lot of dirty work in the run game. He might not get all the opportunities in the pass game, but he had opportunities yesterday and made the most of them. Joe Brady then parroted the same line from Sean McDermott that Shavers is consistently where he needs to be. And then Joe Brady said that Tyrell Shavers was our player of the game. He was such a critical element to our success, and I couldn't be happier for him. Shavers played 53.6% of snaps in Week 11, which was his highest of the season. Keon Coleman being a healthy scratch certainly played into that. Sean McDermott at the beginning of last week talked about how Coleman's effort can improve. And then a couple days ago, McDermott said it's one day at a time now with Keon Coleman and earning the trust and respect of the teammates. That takes time, but each day that goes by, you check them off as wins and the trust builds. It sounds like it's going to be a little while until Keon Coleman is back in the lineup. This was a really weird game for the Bills. If you knew beforehand that, all right, the Bills are going to score 44 points in this game, you'd think, all right, Khalil Shakir probably had a decent little game. At least like a point, right? He had 1 catch for -3 yards. That's pretty crazy. But this is kind of how the Buffalo Bills operate, is everybody eats, right? It's not just like one guy that they're relying on in the passing game, which, is that smart to, where it could be anyone, but the anyone that it could be, like, they're just like nobody worthy of doubling or even like shadowing on offense. I think they could use a couple actually good receivers there, some actual threats. But Brandon Bean, do your thing, buddy. We'll keep watching the Super Bowl from home, pal. All right, Chicago Bears. We talked about Luther Burden's snap count increasing last week after he played a season-high 33 snaps in Week 10. Then in Week 11, Luther Burden played another 33 snaps, while Olamide Zaccheaus only saw 10 snaps. Head coach Ben Johnson was asked about Luther Burden's snap count increasing. He said, quote, "I think you get what you earn, and I think he's earned the increased snaps. It's something we evaluate each week. What does practice look like? How are these guys through the course of the week? Are they making plays or not? He's steadily climbed. The route running detail that's showing up, the consistency and making sure his alignments are right, his assignments. He's doing a real good job with that. I think he's progressing nicely," end quote. So just more great news for Luther Burden as we see his skill set providing a big boost to Chicago when he's on the field. There's still a roadblock for Luther Burden, though. He has overcome. He has jumped the Olamide Zaccheaus obstacle, but there's still one kind of big one here. And that's the fact that the Chicago Bears are only running 3 receiver sets about 56% of the time this season. We're seeing a lot of 12 personnel with Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland, especially when Chicago is playing against dangerous fronts, as was the case last week against the Minnesota Vikings. And then this week, they have to deal with Pittsburgh's defensive line. So unless Luther Burden jumps DJ Moore in the pecking order, we will probably continue to see Burden get 50, 60% of snaps. The bright side is that Luther Burden is a player who can do a lot on just a handful of targets. But he's going to have to do that. Like, he's probably not getting 7, 8, 9 targets in a game this year, at least at this point. All right, we will end with some quick hits here. Let's do 3 things from the CSI Discord, which again, QR code right up on the screen. The most valuable tool in all of fantasy football. Green Bay Packers head coach Matt LaFleur said that Luke Musgrave absolutely needs to play more snaps than whatever snaps he played in the second half in Week 11. We'll make sure that happens. I've already addressed it with our staff. Quote, I just think he's a guy that we have to get on the field, end quote. Houston Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans stated that Jaden Higgins has been playing well. When we target him, it's a high percentage chance that he's coming down with the football and making plays for us. And then Saints head coach Kellen Moore said that Mason Tipton is going to play a ton of football now. He had a phenomenal preseason. He's been a guy that we felt good about, and Brandon Cooks being released will provide Tipton an opportunity to hop in there. And then Kellen Moore also proclaimed in that same press conference that Chris Olave, Devon Vele, and Mason Tipton will probably be the 3 guys in our core 11. All right, cool. That does it for this week. I don't know if I've asked anyone to like or subscribe or anything like that this season. I don't like doing it really, and I don't really care about the likes or even the subscriptions that much. But I find out during the off season when I'm having meetings with companies who are interested in the Coachspeak Index, they are very interested in view count and subscriptions and all that business. So I'll ask this once. Subscribe. Just hit that subscribe button. All right? You're here every week. You're watching it every week. I mean, you may as well subscribe. Help your boy out, okay? All right, cool. Sarah, take us out.